Other elected officials here that I need to,
Just me.
just Mark, right,
And Brad's on.
and Brad's on,
Brad's on.
but I was talking about for Pot County. But, do you have anything that you'd like to say, Lynn?
Well, the thing I'd like to say is it's been a tough year, and I'd like to see a few changes made in the supervisor's office. Thank you.
Mark asked if he could, just talk, Jeff?
Jan, we have a state senator here and a representative here. I would like to get just a little bit of a summary real quick if we could from Mark and Brad on the Senate side and on the House side, how things shaped up, how you look at things as they're going right now. So I appreciate very much if you just give us a little bit of insight on how it's going.
Yeah, we probably will time you for that 3 minutes.
I don't think I'll take that long.
Awesome, thank you.
We're still able to keep our budget at a point where we're spending less than what we take in, and that's been our goal the last 4 years since we've been in the majority in the House. And thanks to Senator Zahn and all his work that he's done over there in the Senate. I got to the Capitol at 7:30 yesterday morning. I left at 6 this morning. We kind of thought we'd get it wrapped up by midnight last night, and we realized at 11:45 that it wasn't going to happen. And I personally think that we should have just went home and started back again at 8:30, because I don't think you're nearly as effective when you're tired. They end up throwing bills at you, and it's a little unfair, I think, to try to debate and maintain your composure when you're tired. But at any rate, we got it done. We do have some good bills, and there's a few bills I wasn't real crazy about. All in all, it was a very productive year. I'd just like to share one thing with you, if you don't mind. I gave my speech Wednesday, since I'm not going to be in the legislature anymore. It was tough. It was a tough speech. If you go out to YouTube and look up my name, you can actually see the speech. I really enjoyed the legislature. I'm going to miss it. I established some awesome relationships. Just as an example, last year I had a bill. I had a constituent come to me, and he said, I've got a construction company, and I had $10,000 worth of tools stolen from my construction company, and it had my name on the tools. They ended up in a pawn shop. The police called him, told him they were at the pawn shop. He went to get them. The pawn shop said, you got to pay $3,000 for them to get them back, because that's what I paid the person I bought them from.
Yep. That's right.
He was victimized when he got them stolen, and he was victimized when he went to get them. And he said the pawn shops have no skin in the game. They get their money no matter what. So I put together a bill last year, and I actually was fortunate enough to get it on. I was on the committee that was assigned to. So I ran it through subcommittee, I ran it through committee, and I ran it on the floor of the House. And it passed unanimously. Went over to the Senate and died in the Senate. It died in the committee. I don't even think it got out of subcommittee. This is, we have a General Assembly which consists of 2 years. So any bills that are brought up last year can still be, they can still keep them moving this year too. And so I went over there, and I actually contacted a national pawn shop that was looking at buying or having stores in Iowa. And I got together with them, because the resistance I was told in the Senate was from the pawn shop people. And so I got together with this, they flew somebody up from Texas. And there was an attorney that worked for him. And we sat down and we come up with an amendment for that bill to where the pawn shops were happy and my constituent was happy. Because I called him and I made sure I kept him in the loop. What the amendment was that if the pawn shop felt that there was some shadiness here, like maybe this person came to him and said, hey, those are my tools, but yet the pawn shop thinks, something just don't seem right here, he can deny it. And then that customer, or the person, the victim, I should say, can take it to small claims court And the judge would just determine whether or not he's the rightful owner. And if he is, then he would get the tools back without any charge. The pawn shop was happy because then they had a judge that was making the determination. The constituent was happy because they were going to get their tools back as long as they were the rightful owner without having to pay for them. I thought everything was going great. It was about a week before the end of the session, and the Democratic senator in that chaired the committee said, well, we got too many bills, we're not going to be able to run. So I told you about the relationships that I built. I went over across the aisle in the House to one of my Democratic colleagues, and I talked to him about the bill, and he supported it, and I said, would you go over and talk to your colleague in the Senate? He said, I'd be happy to. They ran the bill the next day. It passed unanimous in the Senate. The governor signed it 2 weeks ago. That's when I first got elected, I thought, you know, I'm going to be one person out of 150, one person out of 100 in the House. How can one person have an impact? They can. Last year I worked very hard. I rode with the state troopers. And I'm sorry, I'll wrap this up real quick. I've got 2 more points I want to make. I rode with the state troopers. And I realized they were the only law enforcement agency in the Midwest that didn't have tasers. Now, if you can imagine, you got a state trooper out on the interstate, and they're going to try to wrestle somebody to the ground, and their backup is 20 minutes away or 10 minutes away. That can be serious stuff. And I also look at tasers as being the one more step before lethal weapon. I found a study that said that 77% of the 77% of law enforcement injuries were reduced when they used tasers. There were 2 troopers off with shoulder injuries because they had to wrestle somebody to the ground because they didn't have a taser. And so all last session, I started at the very beginning of the session, and I'd go up to a legislator and I'd say, did you know our troopers don't have tasers? Well, I didn't know that. There wasn't one legislator that knew that. Fortunately, I'm on the Justice Systems Approach. They fund the troopers. And I worked very hard, and I don't want to say it was just me, because everybody voted for it, but I went up to the commissioner of the public safety after one of the meetings, and I said, how come our troopers don't have tasers? And he said, because it costs. We don't have the money in the budget. I said, well, what's it cost? He said, about $1 million. Because they got over 400 troopers. And now, it's not just troopers. That's DCI, the enforcement people on the road out there that that work with the semis and stuff. So, but there's about 400 people that would end up with the tasers. And he said it'd be about $1 million by the time you figure the training and the cost of them. They're about $500 a piece, 5 to 7. So I worked real hard and was able to get $1 million appropriation last year for the tasers. And I talked to the commissioner yesterday, and they're going to get them within the next month. I feel very proud of that. Also, I'm happy to say that our budget this year includes 30 more troopers. And some of you may not realize how critical it is, but I talked to a trooper that worked 14 days in a row without a day off because he was covering for people that either were sick or they needed a day off. You can't do that a lot. We have these troopers that are working a lot of overtime, and that's serious stuff when you're out there trying to save lives and save your own life. But anyway, I'm sorry, didn't mean to belabor it and get so involved, but I'm proud of what I've done. And I think I can walk away from the legislature with my head held high.
Thanks, Mark.
Here's one more thing. I just thought, show and tell, I just thought you'd be interested in seeing what a bill looks like. I floor managed this bill. This was one of the first ones I floor managed, and actually became law. And I've got a pin in here that the governor used to sign it, and I just thought you might find it interesting to look at, so I just thought I'd bring it in. Again, thank you very much. It's been an honor to serve, and I appreciate the opportunity.